Attention, fans of Unfinished Business Television. We're thrilled to announce our proud partnership with Super 7, the ultimate destination for collectors and pop culture enthusiasts alike. When you shop at Super 7, you're not just getting amazing collectibles, you're supporting us. Use our exclusive link, super7.com/AJEPYX, and remember to enter the promo code AJEPYX at checkout. Your purchases help us bring you even better content, sharper production, and the quality you deserve. So what are you waiting for? Visit super74.com/AJEPYX today. Use promo code AJEPYX, and let's keep the good times rolling here at Unfinished Business Television.
It's super cool, ultra hot, short, and fat,
I'm not fat.
sweet,
Get lost, run.
and sensational.
You're looking at the world's most dangerous man alive.
It's the Zoo Gang. They're fighting for rock and roll and romance. The Zoo Gang, rated PG-13.
Hey folks, welcome back. Where are we? Of course, where you expect us to be. In the deep dive of Unfinished Business. I am your host, Jeff Galishon, Unfinished B1. And with me as always is my co-host, Andre Joseph of AJ Epic Productions. Welcome to the zoo. Yes, that is a little clue as to what movie we're talking about. I'm sure a film most of you have never heard of, but it's a film that was on cable television a lot back in the day. I like to call it a cable classic. It was on HBO all the time. A movie by the name of The Zoo Gang. I know it sounds like an animated film, but this is like a teen film where a bunch of teenagers somehow get a city ordinance to open up a teen-centered nightclub in somewhere in the Midwest, where they get the permission of Ben Vereen as an alcoholic squatter to uh, take over the space, and then the Repo family kind of gang, the Donnellys, led by Jackie Earl Haley, who are trying to make trouble and trying to take over the club, or at least muscle in on some of its profits. And in this, Jason Gedrick is a teen drifter who falls in with this lovable gang of misfits to get back at the Donnellys and save the club. It was directed and written by Penn Desham and John Watson. Um, I would say this film is on the level of Playing for Keeps, if any of you know that film. Harvey Weinstein's only directed film about a bunch of kids who open up a hotel. Except this isn't as risque. This is strictly made for kids and teens because most of this film is a comedy. And when there are serious scenes, it is very laughable. But it is Mark Price, Skippy's first ever film role in a supporting role. The rest of the cast is Eric Gurry, who a lot of you might recognize as from films like Bad Boys, Author, and I think of. I know the film is Something Special, but some of you might know it as Willy Millie with Pamela Siegel, another cable classic. The rest of the cast is Tiffany Helm as Kate, Jason Gedrick as Hardin, because of course a drifter has to have a name like that. Gina Baptiste as the lead's best friend, Bobby, who I couldn't tell if she was supposed to be a lesbian or very tomboyish Italian in the 1980s, but somehow becomes the love interest of another character where I'm just like, huh? I thought she was like kind of same-sex oriented. And I will note, a lot of modern audiences probably won't want to sit through this film because they use the F word derogatory name for homosexuals a lot in the film as slang. I'm gonna tell you the truth. Like I said, as a kid, this came out in 1985, so I watched this when I was 7 and 8 years old. So of course I loved it. I was like, all these older kids. So this is what teenage years are like. This is like kind of like an Amblin film without any consequences, really. And um, Andre, I take it you have never heard of this film before I suggested it. And
I have never heard of this film until you brought it up, and it was on Tubi, so I had to look at it, and this was like I feel like this could have been like an arcade game back in the day or a Nintendo game because it just had that sort of vibe of like, here's the good guy kids with their little nightclub, and here's the bad guys from out of town that want to take over the town kind of deal. And it becomes like one of those little beat 'em up games or something along the lines of like, I don't know, playing Paperboy or playing River City Ransom for the Nintendo. That's the kind of vibe that I was getting with all the different characters, especially Jason Gedrick. Looks like somebody had a double dragon with his little motorcycle and the blue jean jacket, when he's flirting with the ladies and all that. What the fuck is up with Jackie Early Haley's hair? I mean,
I'm gonna ask you, did you think that was a wig or hair extensions?
that had to be a wig. Come on. I mean, when it was Kelly of the Bad News Bears, he had that cool, like, Freebird kind of hairstyle going on. And now you got him trying to look like a member of Twisted Sister. Was he really trying to sell playing a villain here? Like, that was just bizarre. Eric Gurry, yeah, I remember him from Bad Boys as Horowitz, because he was the one who rigs the boombox to blow up Clancy Brown in the prison. And then I think he ends up going to solitary or gets transferred out of there. And he was actually up for the Geek in 16 Candles before they cast Anthony Michael Hall. And then subsequently after this movie, he wasn't acting as much after that, and I think he became a lawyer or an accountant, so
I know. Yeah, he retired, I think around 1988. And
the weirdest thing about this movie for me, though, on top of the fact that you have a little boy that's cursing and horny, and you have a club where that fortunately there's no alcohol and there's no child predators around. It's just like the cool place that all the kids I know, but it is hear those stories about Hollywood and the place where all the underage kids get to hang out.
did you expect Howard Rollins to show up in a leather jacket, or trench coat, like, hey guys?
No, I expected Howard Hessman to show up and befriend the kids as Johnny Fever. No, but the thing that bothers me about this film above all else is not Mark Price in drag, not having kids cursing and calling each other the F word, but Ben Vereen playing an ex-wrestler turned homeless drunk. What I want to know the logic of these directors who, by the way, wrote Robin Hood Prince of Thieves years later, thinking we need a guy that's an ex-wrestler that helps these kids go against the bullies, just like in the movie My Bodyguard with Adam Baldwin. And you picked Ben Vereen. Granted, this movie was shot, I think, at the end of 83, didn't come out till like late 85, early 86, but still, you couldn't have gotten the Junkyard Dog or Tony Atlas or any other black wrestler from that period that could have played this, and they could have, downplayed her muscles to be like a homeless guy until they like get jacked up like Superman. That was a missed opportunity right there. And then he's the guy that has to teach them to be tough. That's where you kind of lost me on this. Because otherwise, yeah, I got that it was kind of a kitschy 80s teen movie. But once you got to that, I'm like, you lost me there. That was just ridiculous. And I don't know the inspiration for that. I wish the directors could talk about come on the show, Penn Dasham and Watson. Tell us if you're still alive, why you cast Ben Vereen, a legend, as a wrestler.
Well, like you said, it was 80s. He was coming off of Broadway. I don't know how old he was because my question would have been, was he, no, all the makeup he had on his face, was it for him to look dirtier or was it for him to look older? And
I mean, it had to make it look dirtier, or else he couldn't get doggy style with the nurse.
yeah, and who, The only reason you got doggy style with the nurse, she's the only other person of color in the film.
Yeah, that's racism.
Exactly. I want to know who were the women Donnelly was having sex with, because none of other than the twins, none of these kids look the same.
No.
Why is this old man getting involved in teen business? You know, like Boss Hog. Um, enough so that he has a gallery of thugs at the end of stuff these teenagers.
And they're struggling to get a freaking truck up a hill, which is like one of the most laziest ways to write your ending before they have to make it before the deadline expires, before the shit gets shut down.
And why at the end is there need for slow motion of her ripping down the notice? Oh, there's so many questions. Why is the cops who are supposed to be impartial helping them? It, um, let's see. Other questions. Why all of a sudden does the dance training come in and gymnastics come into play towards the end? It's like this whole movie when they jump her, she wasn't using any of those moves. But now that she got an exercise regimen with her friends, all of a sudden now she knows how to like throw kicks and flips.
And these kids can handle physically these drunken bar guys and construction workers paid to stop them from getting back to their club.
What was the business plan for this club?
Why is there a gun involved?
You've got to have a gun. Come on. Like, you're going to have a guy in a cowboy hat who does not own a gun?
Well, they did shoot this in Arizona.
Why is Bobby Jacoby the most likable character in this movie? He's the only one who makes any sense. Like, he reminded me of that kid in The Visit. That M. Night Shyamalan. It's like, I like him. The rest of you, you know. Why? Why when they cut Jackie Earl Haley's hair, it's about the same amount that they cut off the girl, and they didn't look like they cut the girls that much. It's, um, why is Jackie Earl Haley's character a pussy? It's like,
Yeah, exactly. I thought he was going to be like this big giant threat to match up with Jason Gedrick, and basically he's just running behind the big bald dude. It's like the guy from Over the Top.
he literally runs away at the end.
Why is he in this movie? I mean, I know Bad News Bears was a few years off, but did he have a drug problem or an alcohol issue at this point?
No, I don't think Jackie Earl Haley ever really had a drug problem. Or
Oh, so he just lost his hair as he got older.
it happens. He's so old. I'm just saying. It's like that was his plan. Like, yes, I want to lose my hair. More character roles for me. You know, I've never heard any bad Jackie Earl Haley stories, so that's why, like, even when he made his comeback with Little Children, I was happy to see him.
Me too.
I was like, hey, to the zoo gag. I saw like one of your last big movies. You know, that would be my question. Did he want to get down and dirty, but the director's like, no, you're a pussy. Stay a pussy. You know? Um, like I said, was the girl supposed to be a tomboy or a lesbian? And then the studio's like, she can't be a lesbian. So we're going to have a scene where she makes out with Eric Dury.
And talk about that soundtrack too. My God, they really had no budget. They get Robbie Neville, who's pretty big at that time, doing some of the songs, but otherwise, Jesus Christ, I rather prefer Michael Bolton.
Is a good start, baby. But I know you've got a whole lot more. But I want your body close to mine. Want you all the time. It's getting hard to keep control. I want you squeezing me tight.
I mean, the opening band again. How are they getting these bands to play here? Well, really, we only see it work on one night, so we don't really get to see any other band. And then when Jason Gedrick's trying to romance as a teenage girl, they play this weird R&B song that even you couldn't find online. So hopefully we can just play the snippet of the montage. But it is just like this is so some white person trying to sound soulful. It's
I'm sorry, but that scene looks like a deleted scene from Scream for Help.
only less exploitive. The one song I do remember is the training montage scene with "On Our Own." I don't know who sung it, but that's the only memorable song that
They thought that was going to be a big hit on MTV. Like, they really pumped the shit out of that one.
it's the only good song they have. So, um, I think the directors needed to learn a little bit how sight gags and logic work because how is Bobby Jacoby practically standing over the hole for a few seconds before he finally falls in? And so I'm like, so he's levitating a little before he falls in? Uh, um, Not to mention, you are chasing a child that he has to jump off the roof of a building. It's and no offense, how dumb is their dad? It
Oh, yeah.
was like a sitcom. Yet he knew immediately when he got there, I must slam my car into this RV to push it with nobody telling me this. you know, um, yeah, could Ben Vereen get a hot young thing nurse? Doubt.
Yeah, I was going to say, what the hell?
I don't want to see, that lady in a slip. And then, ooh, she hits him with a frying pan to help the kids out. I'm just like, really?
Was Jane Kennedy not available?
Probably not. And they couldn't afford Beverly Johnson at the time. So I'm just like, this movie.
Couldn't make a call to Cosby?
Why are they body shaming Mark Price's character? That is such a new millennium thing to say.
I know, but he was Skippy. They were ragging on him even then.
I'm just like, I know why they got Ben Vereen because it was probably a very big paycheck, and he's the biggest name in this film other than Jackie Earl Haley. Because I don't know if even at the time was Jason Gedrick a thing. Because he hadn't done Iron Eagle yet, right?
He hadn't done Iron Eagle. I don't think he shot the Heavenly Kid yet.
He wasn't in that. Oh yeah, he was. It's the only- I was supposed- Every time I think of the Heavenly Kid, I more think of that older guy who plays the angel more than Jason.
Yeah, Lewis Smith.
Yeah, I'm like always thinking of him or Mark Metcalf or Jane Merrick. And then finally I'm like, oh yeah. I probably even think of the actress who played the popular girl who we finally get more than I think of Jason Gedrick in that movie. It's like, I even remember Nancy Valen. And she's the only person whose name I remembered from that film right away. But yeah, this film, look, it's a cute, not, well, I guess it is offensive now, but at the time it was non offensive. I mean, where else are you going to get construction workers fighting a kid on a plank for money?
Again, only in arcade games.
So I was like, look, this is a cute thing from when I was a kid. Watching it now, of course, it is very ridiculous. And unfortunately, you can't show it to your kids because of the F word using and the body shaming and the utter ridiculousness of the end. Because they see these people pushing this thing, and it takes them a full 20 minutes to finally let me not stand on the side and help them push it. And,
Yeah, and it's like if they had their phones now and just staring and recording, like it's just amusement.
Exactly. And then they kind of just give Mark Price a girlfriend from the girl he struck out with from the beginning. And he only gets like a peck on the lip and a hug. And it's like you're Skippy all over again, only minus the glasses and less energy.
Could he get laid?
Apparently not, because he didn't really get laid in Trick or Treat either. His other feature film, which is a shame because I actually like Mark Price as an actor. But yeah, do you have any last thoughts or any any other complaints about the Zoo Gang?
Well, I'm reading it actually was the first movie to get the PG-13 rating. Even though Red Dawn came out first, this was the first movie that got slapped with it by the MPAA. The movie came out, I think, in like early '86.
And Now, my question, would you recommend the film?
Oh God, no. I wouldn't watch it again.
I'd watch it for nostalgia because, like, the scene where, for instance, it has weird sound effects. Like when Jackie Earl Haley is trying to chase Kate and then she does a backflip, you can hear a bird call as she makes the flip. It is just like, was that intentional or was that like the best take? you know? Or like when they realize they've run out of gas, why is there this long like close up on Ricky's face for no reason. Like, oh, if Ricky's worried, now the audience can worry. And um, was did Ben Vereen's character couldn't have smelled if he got the nurse. Is
He had a shower in the hospital.
true. Why couldn't he play? I guess because he had to be a former wrestler. Why couldn't he just play his real age? And
Or instead of being a wrestler, why not be like a martial artist? Be like Pat Morita and Karate Kid.
maybe they were like, nah, it seems like we're ripping it off. We got to come up with our own thing. Wrestling, that's in. You know.
You do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
And then why do you give like Jason Gedrick the big guy at the end instead of like it being a rematch between Ben Vereen and the biggest guy on their team? And
You notice that in some movies they make Jason Gedrick look smaller than he really is.
it wasn't this film because he seemed bigger than everybody.
Yeah, he was on steroids.
Whereas if you ever have the chance to watch, what was it? Was it Side Streets, Sidewalks, or something where he's
Rooftops?
rooftops? If you ever see that film, he's smaller than everybody.
Yeah.
So it's like it's a weird, like maybe it's just the way he shot. Like Stanley Donen is like, I'm old school. I show you your real size. Where Ben Deschem and John Watson are like, we got to make him look bigger for him to be a believable action hero in this film. You know, with his Canadian tuxedo. And the only hint we get of a past is he's a drunk like my dad. That's all we know. And yet, this is who this man is going to let his teenage daughter date. And now. It's like, we don't even know how old he is. And also, is this the summer? It's like, why are they not in school?
Yeah, they're not in school. This guy just shows up at the girl's house, and I don't even think he's in school. Like, I don't know what his deal is.
And apparently, this town had one arcade, and they closed it because of the Donnellys. But they have no problem with the Donnellys doing this illegal taking over of property. Though they must have, because even at the end, they're like, okay, let's help them push this Winnebago over to, the property. It's as ridiculous as it sounds, full. But again, I probably wouldn't recommend it. I might watch it again eventually. I have a soft spot. I grew up with it. So it's like Small Wonder. It's probably not good watching it now, but I still have those memories of watching it when I was a kid and when it was still magic to me. I will try to stop picking teenage films on my deep dives, but don't hold me to it. So that is it for this episode of the deep dive. But we always have more of these coming for you, especially in the new year. And feel free to give us suggestions as long as it's available somewhere. We will take deep dive suggestions. If not, we're just going to keep bringing you these several little oddities and some popular films for these deep dives. I'm sure this isn't our last in the 80s teen market, just like I'm sure there's more Gene Hackman movies to discover. So we bid you adieu for this week.
This review, please be sure to like and hit subscribe to be alerted to new episodes in the future.